Hello, my name's Adam Jacob Burgess. Have you ever had a dream? A dream that felt so real that when you woke up you weren't sure whether your life had been a dream up until that point and the dream itself was real. I had one of those recently. I dreamt about a chateau in the middle of rural France. It was full of weird characters. An android that was killed that somehow brought back to life. A driver. A kangaroo who was also a mime artist. And then I woke up and that's all I've got.
Go with it. I like that.
That was really cool, though. Oh, good job, buddy. That was excellent.
Intense.
I was absolutely in for that.
You should do ASMR, Burge. I'd pay to listen to that sultry tones of your voice.
It's the child is asleep in the room below me voice. It's the,
Keeping the decibels in control.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hi everyone.
How's it going?
Aloha.
Yeah.
So that's our spontaneous intro game, which landed on Mr. Birds this week, and he did an excellent job of setting up what we're here for. We're re-actualizing Bird's dream. Chateau Rouge Poisson.
Chateau de Rouge Poisson.
There is a place in rural France they call the Chateau Rouge Poisson.
Which actually exists. If you want to look it up, there is a chateau that is called the Rouge Poisson. I actually googled it not too long ago, and it exists.
Really?
Can't be a castle of the red fish.
It's a poisserie, which is a fishmonger's. And they
Say it again. Say it one more time in French.
Poissonnerie. If you type it into Google, and like it's a poisserie Poisserie Rouge Poisson or something like that. I googled it and I was like, oh, fair play, that's amazing because redfish is a thing.
A fishery of redfish.
It's a fishery of redfish, yeah, apparently. So yeah, the dream, Burge, is very much real. And there's a kangaroo that is a mime artist there as well, so even more appropriate.
So if you'd been listening to like episode 15 and you thought I'll skip to see what they're up to now, I imagine this is a bit of a head
That's the jaunt. Yeah,
you just about got yourselves around the Debonair saga and the five. And
in all fairness, if you drop in anywhere in this, it's going to be an absolute mindfuck to a certain degree. It's been
if anything, this is the
ride.
most stable we've been. I think, if anything, it's kind of
yeah, and yet we still have anthropomorphic kangaroos. So,
It's because there's only been one episode.
yeah, one episode of continuity.
It's because I've not had my grubby fingers all over it yet. There's no time travel. There's no space, nothing like that yet. Yet,
man, you are so excited about this episode. Do you know what I'm tempted to do? It's me next. I'm tempted to finish it so you don't get a chance to do it.
Well, that was kind of the unspoken rule. I say unspoken. It was quite a spoken rule that we're since Bird set us off on this murder mystery sort of tangent. I guess we're all going to try and have a little stab at it. So the task for me tonight was to try and continue that without pushing things too far forward, but bring my own little flair to it. So
it's interesting because like it's before we had like the advantage of time travel, we could take it to any context we desired. Like if we wanted to go, let's go prehistoric times, we could easily do it with just like I suppose you could still do that technically, but I think like kind of like the game is now see how much elements you can mess around with in this context because the context given is so good that we can like go away from it a bit, but yeah, and it's really
also we're absolutely finger on the pulse with this as well because murder mysteries
this is it. I'm
everywhere right now.
I'm concerned. I'm treading on like Ryan Johnson's toes. Yeah, it's just kind of
tread away.
Yeah. Absolutely. He didn't invent murder mysteries. Agatha Christie did that. No. But it's awesome. It's something I love murder mysteries. But yeah, possibly we should introduce the general concept of the stream. Well, even though if you are joining us now, it's going to be a bit of a mindfuck. But the general concept is that we each write something, and for the rest of us to read it, and completely blind. You're right there, Luke. And it's a sprawling story where we started with like 5 heroes, and we've gone all over the place, and now we are
through time,
we've got a murder
meta
mystery.
time, space.
We have the name "But Suddenly" because at the end of the script we always end on "But Suddenly" or "When Suddenly," and that sort of signifies maybe a little shift into a cliffhanger. Yeah, hand it off, Ali.
And this is very much in the same world because we have the newfound protagonist-ish is the driver, who is the bus driver from the very first episode. So,
is that right though? Because I thought, was that
I don't know.
Was that your intention, Burge, or was it just a bus driver?
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Yes.
But
there was a direct link, wasn't there? Didn't?
Yeah.
You start the last one by her
bus,
dropping off.
bus.
Yeah, and she left.
it was the description of the bus was the same description Adam
the
used
silver bus thing. Yeah.
in the first episode.
Yeah,
So
dropped
the
them off.
implication was, but I guess like it wouldn't really matter, would it?
Cool.
Because I think we did talk in.
Welcome to the internet, Beth.
Welcome to the internet, man.
Guys, we did briefly discuss it last week. We were like, before Burge even started reading, we were like, oh yeah, one of our things we talked about was like, I think Adam was like, oh yeah, you can take it anywhere.
Going off on a tangent with the bus driver.
5, you can go on the tangent with the bus driver, and we're finally at the tangent with the bus driver, which is it's thoroughly enjoyable.
So on that point, I have not leaned into that fact at all. But the bus driver is quite prominent.
I just realised that now.
So.
How did you find writing it, Phil?
Okay. Yeah, it was on and off, really. I sort of had a clear idea fairly early, actually, what I wanted to do. But, yeah, I don't know. It's been interesting. There's some fun bits in there. I've kind of just leaned into get you guys to do silly accents and see if that's enough to sustain a stream.
It's worked so far.
And it was like I said,
core concept of the show.
Yeah, because I think I was mindful. I read through Burgess' script quite a lot. Still missed the point about the bus driver being the bus driver, but that's fine. And I just I want to try to be respectful to that and sort of pick up on little threads he'd left in there. And as I say, I think everyone wants to try and have a stab at this genre at some point in this particular story thread. So I didn't want to run too far ahead with it, but I think there's enough little bits in there to be playing around with. Added a new element for you to get your teeth into.
Exciting.
Which will require some fun accents from you four.
Great.
I suppose we should, to a degree, recap it. So we found the driver had been called to the Chateau de Rouge Poisson.
Yeah. Oui.
And she had been tasked with solving a murder that had occurred the night previous of the late Mr. Townsend, whose name is
Roger.
Roger. Thank you very much.
Husband of George.
Husband of George. Yeah, we have a sort of like fairly interesting cast of characters, and we were introduced to elements of the history of the house through a. So
it's the Brazenstone's chateau, wasn't it? And it's been looked after by Cyril Brazenstone, played by Adam.
Cyril is the most recent.
He's my new favourite character, FYI. I've leaned in a lot to Burgess' concepts of getting Cyril to overblow and French pronunciation. So there's lots of that. So Adam warm up feel.
The line was from the script was proprietaire and living gouvernante of the chateau, which I quite like that line. So I wrote that in my little description of the version. And he has bushy sideburns, which is very important and key.
And I think Burge said the concept was that he owns a chateau. It's like an old family manor, I guess, but maybe it's not quite as pristine as it was once then. And he's kind of monetized it a little bit. Maybe he's using it as a bit of a hotel, potentially a bit of a tourist attraction.
I thought it was the way that those kind of like old English aristocrats don't actually have any money. They just they have a house that's really posh, but they're pretty poor, so they have to sell it to the National Trust and that kind of thing. So he's like doing all of the housekeeping, even though he's that was my idea anyway. But also, it was just an excuse to get Adam to do silly French.
As if we ever need an excuse for that majesty. So the driver had been called to the house by Cyril.
Cyril Basingstoke's house. Beryl Brainbridge, which is sort of an elderly posh lady, was staying at the house. She's
got 2 grandkids.
Suspect. 2 grandkids.
Yep. And a dog.
Played by Luke Williams, absolutely.
Wonder where the dog got
like
to.
binoculars. I noted that down. We have George Townsend, who is the husband of the formerly deceased, the attempted murdered, because he is now walking around as a decapitated head because it was revealed that he was an android. He's also Scouse. That's another important thing I noted down. We have Florence.
Roger's Northern, George is Scouse.
Right, okay.
Roger was the Sean Bean.
Sean Bean, yep.
Sean Bean, that's it. Yeah, absolutely.
Not to pigeonhole Phil's taking a northern accent. Sean Bean.
Bastard.
We
if
also
George is Scouse, you need to remember that George is very Scouse. If you can lean into that, please.
I will do. I'll write down Roger just for my own edification. And then Florence Desjardins. I'm like in the process of writing like a sort of like a cast list to a certain degree, and I want there to be like a sort of like a running tally of like the clues, because Burge introduced like fairly, as you would in a like mystery that like you don't inherently have to solve. He dotted it with loads of little clues and stuff. Oh, we also have the 2 little robots, friends of the driver. They were quite fun to play. We have like the kangaroo. Is it a butler? I in my head it was like registered as a butler, but I don't think it actually ended up being the butler.
No, I think he said he was just staying there because he's got a show on down the road or something.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So it's a hotel, Le Chateau de la Rouge Poisson.
Yeah, essentially.
Seems to take on that kind of guest house type vibe.
And then we had the one clue I remember was that at one point we had like a conversation by unidentified people talking about how they were in trouble or how they were trying to keep it secret or something.
Keep your heads. Yeah, I think they were based. It sounded like they were kitchen staff based on the fact they seemed to be toiling over some sort of broth or something. That was me.
He knows.
The body
I don't.
With a gaping hole in its chest. And its memory had been wiped from the previous 2 days. So the fact that it's a decapitated head doesn't mean that you can immediately identify the body. He has no recollection of the last 2 days or a day. I can't remember specifically.
Yeah. And that's Roger, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's Roger.
Roger the robot.
Robot. Yeah. Rogbot. And that's all I remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's about it. I think it ended up, which we'll tackle in the first scene, because I've just copied over Birdie's last scene as a launching pad, where the driver is about to question George about what he knows about what happened the night before. Roger's there as well, but she shuts Roger down so she can have a quiet conversation with George.
So, I mean, unless you change things, Phil, but the driver is essentially taking on the kind of Poirot sort of role in this.
Yeah,
she's the one who's kind of like come in and is, for some reason, been tasked with sorting shit out.
Yeah.
So it's on a CV. She's not just a driver. She's a detective, apparently.
Exactly. Part-time
Under
detective.
the an employee of Mysterious Snake Man. Unfortunately, doesn't make a return in this episode because he always got enough to do.
In this episode.
coming soon.
Spin-off.
The tangent now, like at the start, the tangent was the bus driver. The tangent now is Snake Man.
Cut to a snake planet in space.
Awesome. Should we just get straight into it?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's do it.
Ready?
Luke Williams, you know the drill. Give me a sound, bro.
Hoo-ha!
Oh, there's your.
There we go. That was my little.
I like that. Your little,
did I leave that there? Oh no!
glimpse into Yolo's organised mind.
Very awful. It will be better. I'll show it next week. It'll be better. I'll have a. I was going to make portraits for them all. So Adam,
see who's left first.
Okay.
I do love your extracurriculars, Yola.
I was going to make like a special intro for this. Sorry, Phil. I was going to make like a special like Chateau intro, like where we delve into the house and stuff. I just didn't have the energy. Especially since I was like, what if Phil takes us somewhere else? And I made an intro with like all these casts of characters, and Phil, he's a character.
I'll put you at ease. We are very much staying in the chateau. A couple of quick casting notes. Burge, you've been assigned one of the cooks. So last week it was me and Adams. This time it's you and Adam. If they feature
the unidentified voices.
Yeah.
Cool.
Say cooks.
Super.
And yeah, Luke, I know you mentioned you might have to bob in and out. If that happens, Burge, again, if you can take on the driver role, but I'm sure it'll be all right. But
I think we'll be okay. Also, so far so good.
Cool, excellent. Should we hop on them? And again, just lean into the accents. That's what we're here for.
That's what the people want.
Cool. So, but suddenly, episode 19, The Soup Thickens, written by Iolo Roberts. So this is Burge's last scene from last week. Interior, Chateau Gazebo, day. Roger glances at the driver outside the gazebo and then looks back at George. Look, I think she's really bad news. I promise we'll talk about all this soon, but right now I need your help. I have no memory of the last 2 days.
Maybe that's for the best.
What?
Maybe it's best you didn't know.
Sorry, I don't speak Scouse.
The driver re-enters the gazebo.
Right, that's enough. Me and you need a little chat.
Luke, that's a perfect tone. That's you need to hold that level. Wait, I'm not done. The driver reaches to the back of Roger's head and flicks a switch. His pupils flicker and fade away, leaving 2 off-white ovals. Noticing George's face, she speaks.
You're concerned? This thing spent years lying to your face about what it was.
He was still my husband.
Relax. It's just powered down. Now, tell me where you were last night.
George is about to answer when suddenly, this is me, a loud rumbling noise can be heard in the distance, increasing in volume as it nears the chateau. George and the driver step out of the gazebo to see if they can locate the source of the commotion. The vehicle comes to a screeching halt and an ostentatious horn blares out, announcing the arrival of a small tour bus.
The fuck is that?
The driver just shrugs and grabs George by the arm, ushering him back into the gazebo.
Doesn't matter. Come on. I'm going to need you to help me paint a picture of what exactly has gone on in here in the last few days.
George reluctantly follows the driver back into the gazebo. Cut to exterior, chateau entrance, day. The bright orange tour bus parks up just outside the entrance and blares its horn. Cyril runs out from the entrance hall looking rather flustered. He's trailed by someone who might be his assistant, looking somewhat sheepish. There's several wide-eyed tourists pressed against the window of the small bus, snapping pictures and pointing all around in amazement. Cyril dashes to the bus and accosts the tour guide, who is instructing the driver as he begins to unpack suitcases from the luggage hold at the rear of the bus.
Sorry, monsieurs, but I think perhaps you've got the wrong address. We're only available for privé functions.
Beautiful. The tour guide, tanned from travel and adorned with a lanyard and orange baseball cap, turns to face Cyril. He glances up at the sign. Gentlemen, your finest American tourists for the following characters. Please and thank you.
Chateau Rouge Poisson? Nope. This is definitely us. These eager beavers have travelled all the way from Chicago for a murder mystery weekend. Booked it months ago.
Couldn't have asked for any more versions. Cyril scratches his head, confounded, before a realization spreads across his face, somewhat relieved.
Oh, of course, the Americans. Awfully sorry, old bean, but your booking isn't due until the 12th.
And he quirks an eyebrow.
Buddy, today is the 12th.
Cyril's face drops as he turns to his assistant. The bus driver is still diligently unpacking luggage for the guests, some of whom have clambered off the bus. The tour guide leads over to help out with the unloading.
Monique, why didn't you ruddy well update me on the
It just goes on like this.
Calendria.
Monique, dressed in a stereotypical French maid's outfit, looks down at her pumps.
Sorry, master. I tried to remind you earlier, but the circumstances in the house means we were somewhat preoccupied.
Cyril is from the shrub, but is trying to keep calm even as his face reddens.
Preoccupied? Of course I was preoccupied. There's a ruddy dead
He checks himself just in time as the tour guide looks up from the luggage.
Ruddy dead flowers in the chambre. You know how I like to preserve my tulips.
Suspicion averted, the guide returns to helping with the plugs. Cyril turns back to Monique.
So, can we accommodate them?
If they're happy to share, we have 3 spare rooms. There's 5 of them booked, plus the guide. I'm hoping the driver can fend for himself.
Yes, quite. We have quite enough drivers here already.
As they continue deliberating, the tourists seem to be getting organised. Some of them are already snapping pictures.
OMG, what is that? It's so quaint out here.
Brad, a mustachioed tourist with a deep tan, is indiscriminately snapping away anything and everything with his camera.
Is this the place for real? It's like something out of the movies.
The tour guide, trying to round up his group, breaks into his spiel.
All right, y'all, listen up. We've arrived at our destination. Now remember, this is an authentic French chateau. By all means, enjoy yourselves, but be respectful of our hosts.
As he's talking, a lumbering oaf stumbles off the bus and lets out a loud belch. This is Bruce. He's a twat.
Enough of your rap yapping, Andy. We're all paid good money to be here. Let's just get inside. Must nearly be time for some French luncheon.
He barges past Cyril and the others and heads towards the door.
And don't even think about serving me any of that snail shit.
Cyril gestures to Monique. He ushers the others inside. Cut to interior gazebo. Day. Back in the gazebo, George and the driver are sat at a table across from each other. George takes another drag from a cigarette, his hand quivering slightly.
Look, I keep telling you, I wasn't even in the room.
Yeah, you said that. Don't you think that's just a little suspicious? I need you to tell me, in chronological order, what happened after you went to bed last night.
George looks down at his cigarette.
This
He waves a cigarette.
happened. He hates the fucking things, you heard him. We're all had a few drinks the night before. I smoke more when I've had a few. So when I woke up at 2 a.m, bursting for the fag, I had to nip out.
How do you know what time it was?
What?
How did you know what time it was? There isn't a clock in the room.
George looks perplexed and glances at his own wrist.
There isn't a clock in the room, and you don't wear a watch.
George just shrugs.
How do you know I don't wear a watch?
You're not wearing one now. It's 32 degrees outside, and you've been here for 4 days. If you wore a watch but weren't wearing it now, you'd have a tan line. So stop fucking around and tell me what you know this time. Tell me how you know what time it was.
Jesus, I don't fucking know.
George, agitated, gets out of his chair.
The fuck does it matter?
Details matter. The more you can tell me, the better. But don't just make shit up. Tell me exactly what happened.
George scowls, clearly hating every second of this.
Look, it's straightforward. I woke up in the middle of the night for a cig. I went downstairs, stood by the back door, did my thing, then I had to sit down in the drawing room. Next thing I know, the maid's running around screaming blue murder. I must have dozed off in the chair.
The driver narrows her eyes.
That's everything.
As far as I remember.
Okay. Anyone else around?
No. Well, there was a light flicked on in the kitchen, across the way from where I was lighting up, but figured they were just prepping breakfast.
The driver nods.
Interesting. Do you know anyone who might hold a grudge against Roger? Any enemies?
George contemplates this for a moment.
Well, there is the secret group of assassins that have been chasing him for years. Of course, he hasn't got any enemies. He's a fucking postie from Doncaster.
I'm glad to see that famous Liverpudlian wit surviving your grief. Know anything about the memory loss?
Memory loss? I figured that's just something that happened when he was killed.
Shut down. It wasn't killed. Just made to look that way. And blunt trauma wouldn't account for the lost data.
Tears well up in George's eyes.
Christ, who the fuck are you? You're clearly not the police. Should have just called them from the start, but Cyril insisted. My
George
husband
grunts
is dead.
scenario.
Sorry, mate. My husband's
sorry,
dead, and you're talking to me like a microwave conked out.
Driver just smirks.
Dishwasher, functionally speaking. It's close to a dishwasher.
George's eyes widen in disbelief. He goes to speak and holds back. He winds up a fist, but thinks better of it. Instead, he just storms out of the gazebo, kicking a chair out the way as he goes. We linger in a shot of Roger, lifeless, his face cut off mid-sentence. Cut to interior drawing. Thank you. Enjoyed that. Excellent performed.
Super. All
both.
round. Super. Great. Love it. It was there.
Feeling interrogation. Interior drawing room day. The drawing room is abuzz with chatter and speculation. Cyril has rounded up the original guests and is pleading with them to stay tight-lipped about the murder.
Oh, you know how l'Americans can be so excitable. I'd suggest it's best for all of us to keep last night's mishap out of the dinner conversation.
Any direction, Phil, for this?
I think this is your character, so I think anyway you want to go with it.
I don't think she spoke, though. Last night's mishap. No, I'm joking. No,
Sorry, but I should have brought more context for it.
last night's mishap. Poor George has lost his husband, and you want us to brush it under the rug.
There's a murmur of agreement.
Not under the rug, per se. Simply placed carefully on a shelf to be adjudicated by the appropriate parties.
Appropriate parties? You mean that ghastly driver woman?
We need to have faith in her methods.
Ugh, I thought I told you to stop with the insolent pronunciations. You're not kidding anyone. Before Cyril can retort, probably with more bad pronunciations, the Americans enter the drawing room. Andy is trying to usher them towards a table. They seem to be wandering around freely. Bruce has already sourced a local red and is drinking it straight from the bottle.
Come on, guys, let's just settle down. We wouldn't want to leave our host with a bad impression.
Just admiring the amenities. Look at that fireplace, so authentic.
I feel totally at one with myself here. It's like an awakening.
He snaps some random photos of the room.
So when does this murder mystery start? My money's on Brad.
I don't think it works like that. I'm sure we'll be told the rules lickety-split. But for now, let's just take 5 and soak in the admass.
Lucy and Brad follow him over to the table. That's Andy. Oh, Andy. Lucy and Brad follow her over to the table, but Bruce is continuing to saunter around the room. He stumbles across the card table where Beryl, Mr. Page, and one of the unnamed guests, let's call him Robert McCoy, a coated, ruddy-faced Scottish fellow, have taken residence.
What are you playing?
Beryl looks up, somewhat irritated.
Why, backgammon, of course.
An ancient and noble game, if ever there was one.
Sorry, Burgess, you again. Different character.
My companions here are locked in a rather fiendish battle.
Bruce snorts dismissively and next another glug of his wine.
Looks like fucking tic-tac-toe to me.
He pulls out a chair and sits at the table. Beryl looks mortified.
Or fucking checkers. How about a game for grown-ups?
He clumsily brushes his arm across the table, forcing the board and pieces onto the floor.
How about a good old-fashioned game of Texas Hold'em? A real man's game.
He pulls out a deck from his probably denim jacket and flops it on the table. Beryl looks irate and begins to stand up.
Now listen here, Sonny. Where I'm from, you respect your seniors and you mind your manners.
Yeah, well, where I'm from, the alpha dog rules the pack.
Listen, lad, I think maybe you've been enjoying your French grapes a bit way too freely. There's no reason things need to get heated. We're all friends here.
Cyril, watching on in the distance, has summoned Monique over.
Best go find out how long we're looking for some
Shit.
rafraîchissement. Be a darling and ask the kitchen how they're getting on. Nothing like some hearty nosh to settle frayed tempers.
Good thinking, Governor.
Oh, no. Sorry, Cockney accent. Cockney accent.
Is that not Monique? Is that not Monique from the French Girl?
Just read the directions, Joel.
I thought she was mocking him with a Cockney accent. Okay, good thinking, Governor.
Monique, en français?
Even when it's just us two.
Always en français, Monique. Always.
Oui, monsieur. Right away.
Thank you.
I get it now, sorry.
You and me. Monique scuttles off as she heads towards the door. We linger on one of the paintings by the fireplace. It depicts several dogs standing around a billiards table, wearing trilby hats and smoking cigars.
Don't think too much to these Yanks.
Don't think the old lady thinks much of them either. No need to judge. We're about to go through a multi.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, shut up, Terence.
There we go.
That's getting
all
itchy.
the time isn't going to get them to pay us any notice. Woof, woof.
Oh, yeah. You'd have thought they might consider asking us lot if we'd seen anything dodgy, given that we're all the time.
Oh, wow!
Scooby-Doo.
We know the scoop.
Uh-oh.
You managed to finish the line there, Luke.
Sorry.
I wasn't sure you finish the line or not. The dogs settle back into their poses as Monique walks by and exit the rooms. Cut to interior. Chateau kitchen, early evening. The kitchen at Chateau Rouge Poisson is fairly well kitted out with modern ovens and a large gas hob. There's a large pantry and some decent marbled surfaces. But whilst the kitchen may have once been used to prepare fairly lavish feasts, the shelves now give way to endless pre-packaged pastries and boxes of powdered soup mix. There's two chefs man in the kitchen, both in chef's whites and overly large hats. One of them, Clarence, is idly stirring a pot of what might be onion soup. The other, Claude, is removing bread rolls from their packaging.
Are these guys French?
Not really, I don't think. I think it's whatever me and Adam did last time.
Swedish.
Can't remember.
I believe they're Swedish.
Okay, just bring your own
Channel the
interpretation.
chef from Muppets.
Okay. So,
Sorry,
vaguely
but
northern.
I'm not-
Vaguely
yeah,
northern.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Uh,
I think, we essentially used our semi-normal
Indeterminate
voices, I
mic.
think.
just like a soft northern accent. Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Christ, this stuff stinks.
Even worse than the minestrone.
Tons worst. At least that was identifiable as tomato.
Yeah, we got away with that one. You perked up, mate. Got all jittery before.
Speak for yourself. I think you're right though. No body sus.
Before he finishes his sentence, he checks himself as the driver strolls through the door.
No body could tell the difference, even without the time. You alright?
Yeah, you lost, love. Staff only in here.
The driver strolls into the room and runs a finger along one of the surfaces. She holds up the finger, revealing it to be caked in dust.
Not surprised. It's filthy. Wouldn't want your guests seeing the state of this place.
Very funny. Now get out before we call security.
For the first time, the driver's face shows some amusement. Sorry, Luke.
Now that is funny. You don't know the meaning of the word. If this place had security, your boss wouldn't have had to call me out here. So, who's in charge of the kitchen?
Claude and Clarence look at each other, then point to each other at the same time.
Oh, that is adorable. Neither of you wants to take responsibility for this shambles.
It's a partnership. We're contracted out by the same agency to provide catering.
Which agency?
Paris Patisserie Party.
Sounds authentic.
It's a job, all right. One we're in the middle of. So unless you've got something to say to us, can you kindly piss off?
The driver strolls along the counter, taking a whiff of the onion soup as she goes past.
As much as I don't want to distract you from this culinary delight, I've got a few questions.
How long's it going to take?
Depends how helpful you are, really. Time did you start working this morning?
Oh, usual. Around 7 for breakfast.
Roundabouts then?
then,
Oh, that's... Yeah, sorry.
A roundabouts
Sorry.
then, yeah. Cyril said there'd been an incident overnight, but we shouldn't worry, and that we should just get on with the day as usual.
The driver whips out a notebook and jots a few things down.
7 a.m. Right. And roughly what sort of time will you be clocking off then tonight?
Look at each other again.
9 or so. Whenever we finish cleaning down.
One day that. Does the agency approve?
It's a split shift. We're off from 2 till 5. Get to do what we want in between.
The driver nods.
Gotcha. So, tell me, which one of you was around here at 2 in the morning?
You look at each other.
What?
Simple question.
Neither of us. We just told you when we were here.
Okay. Anyone else have access to this kitchen? I know how sensitive you are about security.
Just us. Well, wasn't Cyril.
So, I'll ask again. Which one of you was sneaking around in the house in the middle of the night?
They look to each other again, unsure of themselves. Claude is about to speak when Monique enters the kitchen, humming a song to herself. She looks at the driver. She approaches the group, realizing she needs to stay in character.
Bonjour, mon ami. Cyril would like to know if there's any appetizers we can satisfy les guests with.
Dinner's at 7. Same as always. Do us a favour, Monica. Drop the shoddy accent. It's only us.
Monique looks again to the driver.
But monsieur, there is a guest present.
Oh, that's for my benefit. Come across better acting in second-rate porn films.
Monique looks somewhat wounded by this.
Fine. Never mind dinner time and schedules. Cyril's about to blow his top. The Yanks are causing a bit of unrest amongst the guests, and he wants a bit of food to shut them all up.
All right, sounds like we've got some work to do then. Sorry, lady. Would love to continue with your interrogation, but boss's orders and all that.
The driver grunts something indecipherable.
Fine. I've got enough to go on for now. I'll be back before you finish up, so don't go anywhere.
She turns to Monica.
Tell Cyril I need to speak to you all together, so ask him to gather everyone up in the drawing room for 8:30, not a minute later. It's important.
Wait, you think he might know what's gone on?
Just make sure everyone's there.
The driver taps her on a notepad and leaves the room, mumbling something to herself. Claude and Clarence hastily assemble a couple of trays full of pastries.
What do you reckon her deal is then?
The two chefs share a glance before loading their pastries onto a trolley.
Dunno. Doesn't matter. She's full of shit. Off you pop them. Best keep old Cyril happy.
Monique pushes the trolley out of the kitchen.
Reckon she's onto us.
Monica. Nah, she's good as gold.
Not Monica, you prat. I'm talking about the driver bitch. She doesn't give much away.
I wouldn't worry about it. How's that soup doing?
Wouldn't worry about it. She could blow everything.
I said don't worry about it. It's about time you had a little faith in old Claudie.
Clarence turns back to the soup which bubbles away. Unbeknownst to the chef.
Claude just took up a whole new level.
Old Claudie. Clarence turns back to the soup which bubbles away on the hob. Unbeknownst to the chef, one of the tiny worker pots scuttles across the surface, like latching itself to an empty serving tray. Interior, drawing room, evening. Some time has passed as the night draws in. Things have settled down in the drawing room.
Old Claudie, sorry.
That was quite a late addition. Some time has passed as the night draws in. Things have settled down in the drawing room. Bruce is dozing on an armchair by the fire, and the rest of the patrons are sat in various groups. Monique is handing out soup bowls and placing the empty plates from the earlier pastry servings. Marcel is holding court with some of the Americans, making wild miming gestures while he talks.
So I said, didgeridoo. I just met her.
Andy groans. But Lucy and Brad find this absolutely hilarious. Brad takes some more pictures to document the occasion.
Oh, Marcel, you are just so damn talented. I can't wait to see you on stage.
Yeah, talented. So, listen, Marcel, don't suppose you know when this mystery is going to start? I figured we might have had a primer by now.
Marcel suddenly looks a little unsure of himself, taking a seat at the table.
Well, I'm sure we'll hear something soon. Only thing is, last night's show was a doozy. I think maybe it's taking a little longer to set up this time around. I'm sure Cyril will give you all the deets soon.
Over at the card table, some of the OG cast are discussing events in hushed tones. How long are we meant to keep up this pretense? I thought we'd have answers by now.
Quite. I'll be expecting a full refund for this disruption. And as for those Americans, I've never seen such bores.
The others murmur in agreement.
Aye, it's been a long few years. This whole don't leave the premises lark is getting a bit wearisome.
Beryl gets up from her seat and dusts herself off.
Perhaps I'll see if Cyril has any updates for us.
Beryl, hunched over from sitting for so long, moves over towards Cyril, who's deep in conversation with Monique. He spots Beryl approaching and gestures her over.
Beryl, bon petit viadam. What can I do for you?
You can cut the French crap for a start. We've waited long enough, Cyril. What's going on?
Quite right, quite right.
He glances at his watch.
8:45. Monique, I thought you said 8:30.
That's what she said to me. Make sure everyone is here and don't be late.
Cyril, brow furrowing, checks his watch again out of hopelessness.
Yes, well, perhaps you can check on her in Le Chambre. See what the old delay is. Could do without more bad TripAdvisor reviews.
Monique nods and leaves the room. Interior, Chateau hallway, night. Monique makes her way through the house, past the paintings and dusty busts of old brazen stones, all of which seem to be a bit creepier in the evening light. There's a stillness to the paintings now, although some of them seem to be watching on with alarmed expressions as the faux maid makes her way up the stairs. She consults her notes quickly, confirming something.
Room 16?
She passes rooms 11, 12, 13.
16. Ah, here we are. Oh.
14, 15, 16. Monique stops by the door and taps her foot on the ground. There's something sticky underfoot, something viscous. She taps on the door with a degree of urgency now.
Hello? Are you in there? Only, you said past and it's nearly 9? Hello?
More of the sticky substance trickles out of the room through the crack in the door. It's unmistakably blood. Monique breathes heavily as she begins banging on the door.
I need you to respond or I'll let myself in.
She nervously reaches for her spare keys, dangling by a chain on her waist. Her hands fumbling, she finally finds the right key.
Okay, I'm coming in.
She unlocks the door and nudges it open. We don't see inside. All we see is Monique's face turn a ghastly white as she lets out a piercing scream that rips into the night. Monique doesn't even notice the figure emerging from the shadows behind her. But suddenly... that's it. No post-credits, I'm afraid, guys. That's it.
That's good cliffhanger.
Yeah.
There is.
Very nice.
Post credits. It just says 31. Very ominous, Phil. I like it.
31.
Very well done. That was
yeah,
very
really
well
good,
written,
man.
buddy.
Thought I'd
That was
settle on the,
Loved it.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah.
It's very like kind of on genre. It was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
It was good.
Try and keep it true
As Adam
to...
said, I really liked that interrogation scene. I thought that was like perfect. That was like
With
really
George.
well written.
Yeah, I like that.
George, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Seen that.
super.
That was really,
It's really good.
Yeah.
I really like how you leaned into the Scousness. That was appropriate for the dialogue. Sorry, a little bit pushing. Sorry.
Channeling Matt Haynes. So if Matt Haynes, if you're out there, I'm very sorry, buddy.
Excellent job, guys. I enjoyed it. Excellently performed by all of you. Enjoyed the intensity of Luke's driver. I thought you brought that.
Yeah,
nicely.
I did.
Very good.
I enjoyed that, and like no bullshit. And Luke had some acting prop work. He was
Notepad out.
pauses, dramatic pauses out of nowhere. I loved it. Good job, Luke Williams.
Hey, I wasn't the only one busting out the chops tonight. It was some nice play all round.
Good ensemble effort.
Yeah, good job, guys.
Yeah, I enjoyed the American accents. They were just perfect.
Yeah,
It's
that's
so
a fun addition.
reminiscent of the people who get in the shop. It's just like just wide-eyed and kind of irritating.
I like the like unspoken of element now of these Americans that are wanting a murder mystery night, and someone gets murdered on the night that they're there. So technically they've gotten their murder mystery night, but maybe if they're murdered, who knows? We've only seen blood so far, but that's the sort of assumption.
That would be the
really
assumption.
Well interesting. Very interesting.
Cool. Yeah, so I feel like I've not really progressed the story that much, and I mean we don't know where George has ran off to. Roger's still incapacitated, so the initial murder's not really been resolved. Obviously, the driver's out and about trying to get some answers, and
but it's introduced elements though, like because it's kind of cast some suspicion on George himself, because obviously he was lying about like the time, and he's clearly done something suspicious in the night. We've got more context on the cooks.
Mild dodginess around the two cooks, which was really good. Just subtle, kind of like they're up to something we don't know
absolutely.
what. Good.
What, old Claudie? Yeah.
Old Claudie.
yeah, probably didn't help him.
If he does say so himself.
Pretty French names, but even though we played them as Northern last time, it's like.
It's like you really like did excellently in that, like the thing with this project, this entire thing is that you write an episode and we're waiting 2 weeks for it, and there's that like internal instinct to make it a spectacle. Obviously you want to entertain all of us, and we want to entertain the audience, and you want to entertain everyone, so you want to inherently make yours a spectacle, and as such you kind of lose that element of actually like continuing, and we've talked about this before, but actually continuing the story from previously in an appropriate manner and not taking it too far so that there's nothing left for the next person to do. But that was like, I think, a picture perfect example of continuing the previous episode, introducing some nice elements, but also leaving it open for the next person to also continue it sort of appropriately. It was perfect.
I think so that's basically what I was aiming for. Yeah, so kind of bring the silliness, don't try and throw everything out the window, just kind of keep it ticking.
It didn't feel like overtly silly as well. Like in the past, obviously, like a lot of us have done episodes which are sort of ridiculous for the sake of almost being ridiculous to a point. But I think probably the best thing I could say is he did like 31 pages. It flew by. Like it didn't feel like it was.
Really
didn't feel like it was 31 pages.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just the formatting on the software I use, because it just seemed quite.
Maybe a little bit, but it flowed, and it felt like it sort of bounded along. It was good.
I was
really
intrigued.
A couple of new characters
throughout. Like there wasn't like that element of like, you know, like how much time have we got left, engaging on the time and stuff. I was literally like enthralled by it. It was really good.
Oh,
It was
guys.
excellent. Very well done.
Superb.
Yeah.
Superb.
And I really like the little aside. I really like the kind of thing that has been set up. It's only 2 episodes, but like that we delve into a portrait in each episode. I really like the dog.
I enjoyed that. Yeah,
it was awesome.
So what's
really
the
fun.
stereotypical picture? Oh, yeah.
I love
Absolutely.
dogs
I
playing
can
snooker.
see it. Yeah, absolutely. And the introduction of the Americans is really, really fun. I really like the Americans. Like I like that it's kind of like because everyone before was kind of like posh and reserved, like very European, very British, and now
like the beiges and this is all Beryl and so the kangaroo and the Scousers.
Scousers.
No, it's good. I mean, it's a nice mix in there, sort of to play around with, I guess. And you got Scotsman as now, one of the 4.
Scotsman for
I knew Luke was the man for that one.
Oh yeah.
He's wearing a kilt right now.
White eyelines.
Very well done. Very well done.
We don't need a spinner for next time, do we? We're all.
Wait.
I think we always need a spinner.
I think, it's very important.
Who could be next?
This thing. So like we're not messing about here. Like it's very important that we do this. Suppose I'll give it a spin. Ready,
Give it a spin.
Yeah.
Something quite sad about it making its way slowly.
Look at it.
Get the fanfare though.
You need a reroll. Beautiful. So, Burge, do you feel like I've continued on what you started for us?
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was really good. It was, I think, as the others have said, you've left it open. I know you were saying like you didn't take it too far, but I think that's perfect because you kind of want it to be a slow. Like I think Iolo was joking about like it should be a game as to like who can like
27 episodes later
whoever solves the murder loses. So like I think it works really well.
It's like box someone into a corner where eventually got to reveal it on the suddenly, and then it's like, how can you get out of this one?
But it was good, and I think you had a good variety of like different kind of characters having conversations, so it kept it interesting,
Cheers, man.
Yeah, and the introduction of the Americans was good as well.
Yeah. I also like on the subject of introductions. I really liked. I don't remember Monique being in the last one.
No, she's new.
She was the new, yeah. So I really liked the introduction of Monique because it kind of like gives someone Cyril to bounce off of. Also, she's kind of like doing what Cyril's trying to do, but better in that.
Yeah, it's that sort of
pulling off a French accent.
Authentic kind of Frenchness with it.
I apologize for like sort of stumbling over that.
No, sorry.
My headcanon was she was a French person like trying to do what he was doing by like being mock British. That's what I interpreted it as, and then I sort of read it forward and I was like, I get what she's doing, I get what happened. But you know what else? Another thing I have to compliment you on is like, and the difficult thing of like writing a mystery novel and like I've tried to write stuff like that before, but it's like always difficult to have genuinely astute observations by the Poirot or by the detective character, and like the watch one was really good. I like that watch one. It was like, you don't wear a watch. And he's like, oh, how do you know I don't wear a watch? And then the timeline thing. I was like, that's like good. That is something that like...
Straight out of the Dr. House playbook, that one. Just.
But I really enjoyed that. Like, what's your... So this is headcanon stuff now. So like, what's your headcanon for
I was going to ask this. Do you have like it panned out in your head? Have you got like a continuation of your story to a conclusion or?
To a small extent, not really. Yeah, there's a few. I kind of had to be writing towards something, so
okay.
I had a rough idea. But what's beyond the door is I mean, the obvious assumption would be that the driver's dead behind the door, but I wouldn't necessarily say we want to kill off the driver that early. So, but we'll see. Yeah. We'll see what Luke does.
Yeah, you also had like I suppose you also had like George running off like in a huff.
Yeah.
So like the normal headcanon thing would is like see the driver dead and then like the assumption is that it's George, but it ends up not being George. That's the general sort of like murder mystery thing. But it could easily be George as well, and it's like some sort of weird like vendetta against the entire Townsend family. Yeah, it's very interesting. And what's your headcanon with like the driver suspecting the cooks? Did you ever sort of like consider that? Like,
I've got a few
suspicion.
Well, she's made a couple of notes. I was thinking possibly the I don't know how much you want me to get into it really, like, but the agency that they mentioned, she might have some sort of understanding of who the paymasters are there, and maybe they could be linked into that some way. And then just the fact that they were pottering about in the morning obviously was a cause of suspicion.
Yeah.
Well, I really liked the line about the dishwasher, like the driver's line about the dishwasher. I was kind of like, that was
It's mean.
really felt like her character. You know, like you'd sort of nailed that. Or,
Yeah, I think that was like one of your first lines where it was like, where is it? Yeah.
It seems to be the defining character trait of the driver that she has no sympathy for robots, which is
Not a robot
I think that she
sympathizer.
has she has two of her own that are amazing. But yeah, I really enjoyed that.
One of them's left in the kitchen, so that's to be picked up on.
Yeah.
So I see Luke's making notes. Are you already plotting your script?
Oh, I've plotted
done.
out. I've done it. No, yeah, I've definitely got where I can finish it. I've got a cliffhanger. I've done.
Finished.
They're
It was
now.
Episode 20 now.
Since they're all gathered in the living room anyway, they turn on the TV and actual tilts on. And
Oh my gosh!
And we're back, baby.
I'm not gonna do that. But I'm not gonna do that now. I was gonna have someone turn it on and someone go turn that shit off.
I was originally, my first scene was going to be just like going back to the debonair, and then you four in real life telling me off for like dismissing Burgess' work, and forcing me to write a murder mystery story. But
fair enough.
I thought I'd keep it very much. I don't even think I introduced any new rooms or scenes. Well, I suppose the kitchen was kind of only past. No, the kitchen was there, Burgess. Yeah. No, it was all.
You introduced room 16.
Room 16. This is true. The mysterious room 16.
Yeah.
There's a new tour bus in town as well.
And once this is done, we can make like an offshoot of Cluedo with all these characters in there.
Yes. Yeah.
Also, I don't think we didn't dwell on it, but the title, The Soup Thickens, great.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Again, because I knew I wanted to play around with the chef guys a little bit, so that sort of made sense. It's keeping the plot bubbling along. So.
Very well done, Phil. Very, very well.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Top
I enjoyed that.
cool.
Cheers.
Should we call it there?
Yeah, I think that's a good, nice, neat way of
Seems
playing.
like a nice end.
Luke's still toiling away. Bye.
Bye.
Toodaloo.
Bye.